has her fan following. Good morning, everyone. We welcome you to the Wednesday, April 24th meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Utah Transit Authority. Would excuse our colleague Beth Holbrook, who has some obligations associated with her service in the Utah League of Cities and Towns, and needed to get an early start to that, but will be with us next week. Well, let us begin now with invite you to stand and joining us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll begin first with our our safety first minute with Sheldon Shaw. Sheldon?
Chair, appreciate the opportunity. Again, I'm Sheldon, Safety Manager here at UTA. What I want to do is highlight a couple of our employees who are great safety partners. And as we all know, all of us are responsible for the safety and security of our system. The Safety Department helps with that, but it's an all-hands effort. So the safety poster for this month was, the idea was submitted by Amanda Burton. She works here in this building in purchasing. She was part of the safety committee here at FLHQ for a year, and then she chaired the committee for 2 years. She's done a great job, and she submitted the idea for this safety poster. And then Blair Lewis is our graphic artist, and he does the artist work for all the safety posters every month, and both of them are great safety partners. So my challenge to everyone here is not only to be a safety ambassador and partner, but if you have an idea for a safety poster, please send it to me, and we'll get you up for next month, and we'll highlight your support. Thanks.
Great. Thanks for the invitation, and well done. Next, go up to our item number 4 on our agenda, public comment period.
No public comment today.
Okay, thank you. Our next item is approval of our minutes from April 17th.
I move approval of the board minutes for the April 17th, 2019 board meeting.
Second. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Next up is item 6, our agency report with our Director, Steve Meyer.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. 2 items I want to highlight today. First is the outreach plan for the Main Street rail replacement. Got a big effort coming up this summer with the replacement of the Half Grand Union. So that's that 3-legged intersection there at Main Street and 4th South. So Eddie Cummins and Greg Thorpe are coming up to the table, and James. All right, and they're going to talk through the plan here. We did a press release last week and described that, but I wanted to review that with the board this morning.
So our project partners on this project include UDOT, Salt Lake City, and Salt Lake Chamber, and the Downtown Alliance. Personally want to thank all of our partners. They've been very supportive in planning for this construction project and helping communicate with those who are affected. Just a little background on the project. This project includes replacing rails and switches in 2 areas on Main Street in downtown Salt Lake City between City Center and Courthouse stations. The work will take place specifically at 400 South Main Street and 150 South Main Street. This is a major project and probably UTA's most significant repair project since tracks opened in December of 1999. The tracks and switches in this area have been in service for almost 20 years and have experienced considerable wear in these high traffic sections. UTA is completing this work at this time to keep the system in good operating condition, ensuring the ongoing safety and reliability of tracks in the years to come. To minimize inconvenience as much as possible, this condensed 24/7 construction schedule will allow us to complete the project in just 4 weeks as opposed to months of ongoing disruption. It's important to note that we are coordinating a number of efforts to provide information and updates to UTA riders, motorists, residents, and businesses located in the construction area. We want to emphasize that all businesses will be open during construction, and detailed information and maps about the construction phases and corresponding impacts to riders and motorists is now available on our website at www.rideuta.com/construction. And regular updates during construction will be provided on the website and on UTA's Twitter feed. I'll now turn it over to Greg Thorpe, UTA Project Manager, and James Larson from UTA Communications to provide more detailed information.
Thank you, Eddie. So we've been working to plan for this project now for 2 years. It was originally planned to start construction last summer, but we put it off for a summer to this summer. We began procuring rail and engineering and equipment in 2017. It was delivered in 2018, and now we're ready for the construction. So as Eddie said, it's 18 years old. It's time to replace them. They are worn out and pretty worn. If you go there today, you can hear the clank, clank, clank of the cars going through. And every time they do that, they beat the concrete to death and they damage our switches and our frogs. So it's time to do that. And as Eddie said, we are doing this consecutively in 24 days, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The crews will not stop working on the project. They'll work around the clock. They have multiple crews coming in from out of town to do the work. So from May 4th to May 28th, we chose that time because that's between when school lets out at the University of Utah and before one of the major events downtown, which is the Pride Parade. So we fitted into that schedule to try and lessen impact downtown. So I'll lead you just through the construction progress we go through. First of all, we build the turnouts. They are built off-site, and then we demo the concrete. If you go there today, we're saw cutting the concrete already in anticipation of the project starting May 4th. So we've started some pre-demolition work out there. Once we remove the track, we prepare the subgrade again. We sectionalize the track, so it has to be sectionalized on-site and built on-site, and then we weld and test it. So the construction hours you can see on the pre-construction, if you go up there today, we are building temporary platforms on 4th South, just east of the Half Grand. Those temporary platforms will allow people to walk between courthouse and this temporary platform to go to the university, or they can walk from courthouse to Gallivan. So the work that's occurring now there is occurring at night only. So all traffic is open except for a lane going east and westbound on 4 South. That's closed so we can build a temporary platform. So as far as the media and everybody, we've coordinated, and James has done an excellent job doing that, coordinating with everybody on the project. We've worked with UDOT to prepare a traffic plan of the entire downtown area. So we are doing some intersection striping changes downtown. And we're also changing the signal timing downtown on several intersections to try and keep traffic moving a little better.
Which intersections are being changed as far as the downtown area?
As you're heading westbound on 4 South, you can't go through the Half Grand because it's under construction or down to one lane during construction time. And so we're changing that to allow 2 left-hand turns at 4 South on State Street, which should take you over to 5th South. And then we're putting in a right turn lane so you can go down 5th South. What's interesting is when the trains run to the temporary platform, they will reverse run back up through State Street. So they are reverse running through that intersection, so that left-hand turn lane that's there today, you cannot. We're going to have to occupy that with trains, so we're going to have to put in an additional left turn lane. There was a through lane originally, so that'll be 2 left turn lanes. There'll be all types of orange construction signs and orange barrels all over the place. It's a major detour project downtown. There are several streets that are impacted on that. So as I indicated during the pre-construction, we'll have one lane eastbound and westbound that we're impacting. So then when we go to the construction, which is May 4th to May 22nd, we're doing those intersection changes, striping and signing changes, and also the timing changes. There will be one westbound lane open during this period on 4 South only, so you can't get through. Eastbound will be completely closed on 4 South. So we're encouraging everybody to use coming in from the north, and we're working with UDOT. They will have their traffic signs on the freeway for people to use Beck Street and North and 6 North to get off. So we're trying to keep everybody from the north coming in using 4 South. If you're coming from the south, you can still use the regular 6 South off-ramp, so that won't impact you very much. As far as the, this isn't working. Says it's on. There you go.
There we go.
So as indicated, so as you can see, the riders that come into town, they can go from Galvin and walk over to this temporary platform, or we'll have a bus bridge that circles the block on 5th South and 3rd South that can take people either to the temporary platform or to Galvin Center to continue their ride. There will be delays. There's no doubt about it. If you have to walk or get on a bus, you're going to be delayed on your trip. So I've encouraged everybody to think that there'll be maybe 15 to 20-minute delay during this time. The trains will, since they can't run through Main Street, they will all have to turn back at 4 South. So the blue line and the red line will continue into the city. The green line will stop at 2100 South. Those riders will be encouraged to get on a red line to continue downtown. The trains that are on the north end are going to be also out on the system for the full 28 days. They can't go back to the shop. So we'll have mobile teams out there to do cleaning and maintenance. We'll store all the trains over at Salt Lake Central and up at the University of Utah. And so we'll have police up there. We'll have mobile cleaning going on up there. We'll download all the information off the trains using Wi-Fi. So we're installing Wi-Fi up there also to take care of that. So from May 23rd to May 28th, now we start construction at 150 South Main. And so we're going to be closing the trains from Courthouse all the way to City Center. And so we'll have the bus bridge going. I think your battery's dying. You want to change the slide? There you go. So we'll have the bus bridge now that goes from 5th South to 1st South. And you can still walk from Courthouse to Gallivan, but walking all the way to City Center is probably not an option, so people will probably take the bus. We'll have 2 buses out there, full-size buses, and 2 flex buses. And so in the 4th phase, 3rd phase, we'll just be working at 150 South Main. And that street will be closed between 1st South and 2nd South. There will be no traffic moving through there at that time. And so therefore, you'll have a walking bridge from Gallivan to City Center. At this time, we're completely done. We're completely done with the half grand, so all traffic is open at that time. Can we go to the next slide? Turn it over to James.
All right. Our number one focus is communication to everyone involved. So our riders, for the most part, because we're cutting all of our lines in half, it changes their normal mode of transportation. So we've created rider brochures educating them on all 3 phases of the construction project. During each of those phases, we're going to be handing these brochures out to our riders through train hosts, at Front Runner, as well as we'll be setting up distribution points at Courthouse and Central Point, because majority of our riders ride through both of those stations. And then likewise, we're going to get it out to all the different bus operations so that the bus drivers can hand it out to our riders that are going along the bus. We already have station signs out at all the Front Runner stations and the track stations. We've got 11 by 17 signs on the stations themselves. As people exit the train, there's 24 by 36 signs that we'll have, and then we'll also have A-frame signs just telling them where they need to go during each phase of the construction process. Likewise, to remove any doubt of where they need to go to get onto the bus or where they need to go to walk to each of the different stations. We're going to have A-frame signs at pretty much every single corner, pushing them exactly where they need to go throughout all 3 phases of the construction project. We will also have 2 volunteers at each of the different stations, so if people are confused, they'll be there to direct them where they need to go, as well as I'll have literature if the person lost the piece of literature that we gave them. Customer service, I've given 2 sets of presentations. We've given them all the collateral, so if people call in, they'll know what's going on. And then, like Greg mentioned, our other concern was the bottleneck situation that we're going to get along Main Street and 400 South for our Utah drivers. So we've got 3 freeway signs leading into Salt Lake for those heading I-15 southbound to drive them to Beck Street and 600 North. And then from the opposite heading on I-15 northbound, we'll push them off to 6 South. Most people are doing that anyway, but you also have that HOV lane on 400 South. So we want to try to get as many people off of 400 South. Driving it last week, there's a lot of traffic that goes up through 400 South. So if we can reduce the amount of bottlenecking, UDOT is also utilizing their apps, blogs, emails to help communicate to all their people. And then likewise, through an extra effort, we're going to be using radio liners 2 weeks before each of the flight campaigns, just educating people as we move from phase 1, 2, and 3 for all of our drivers. Like Steve mentioned, we had a press conference last week, handed all the media press kits with information on everything that's going on, along with maps. We'll be sending out media advisories and press releases as we go through each phase of the construction project, just so that media is continuously educating public citizens on what's going on. Like Eddie mentioned, we do have a really comprehensive website, rideuta.com/construction, that has sections where drivers, riders, whether you're using front runner tracks or bus, just quick links. So you can just click on the link, jumps down and tells you exactly how to use that mode of transportation to get to and from work, as well as play during this construction project. And then we'll be using Twitter to do daily updates. We're going to be meeting as a team once every day, just so that we can go over what's working, what's not working, what additional communication do we need to get out. If there's changes in construction, we'll be able to get that information out. The contractor is going to be doing time-lapse videos during each phase of the construction. So my ultimate goal is to just really celebrate the fact, hey, we finished phase 1 of the project. All we've got is 14 more days and we'll be done with this, just to keep pushing people along. And then after we get done with the overall campaign, we're working with Jeff Lamorta to do a ridership campaign to help drive traffic back to UTA and look at other types of things like community celebrations and so on and so forth, to help improve our ridership and kind of have this ultimate celebration with the community afterwards.
Greg, what are and I realize you'll never want to go on record to say this, but what are the chances of them finishing early? Is it pretty remote? Is it wishful thought? I'm just wondering, it looks like between phase 2 and 3, if somehow for South got done early for some reason, you could move forward in opening that intersection earlier.
Yeah, certainly anything is possible. We have pushed the contractor as hard as possible.
Yeah.
To get him down to these 24 days, and he doesn't feel like he can be pushed any further.
Yeah.
Without taking too many risks. So
yeah. Okay.
It's about 8 days for each segment. So they will start. Maybe I didn't make this clear. They will start and do the part east of Main Street first, and then they will move to the part that's south, the 4 South, and do that part of the curve, and then go north and do that part of the curve. So they have to do it in segments like that to fit it up. So they've scheduled about 8 days for each one. We wish they could do it faster because of the impacts.
Sure.
And at this point, they've got a pretty detailed schedule, hour by hour, of what the work is, and it seems pretty robust and pretty aggressive. And so I can't see them finishing early, but
Yeah.
if they do, that would be gravy, and we'd appreciate it.
Well, if I remember right, from the North Temple construction, when they did the one on the South Temple intersection, there's just a cure time too for the concrete, right? I mean,
Right, we're using higherly strength, 9,000 PSI concrete.
Okay.
It cures roughly in 1 day, but according to UDOT, we have to allow 3 days before we put traffic back on it, so.
I was just reminiscing as I was looking through the materials this morning, walking Main Street right after I took office in '98, and it was pretty drastic. And it really wasn't the tracks construction fault; it was all the utility work that Salt Lake City decided to do at the same time, and which has been great and certainly served them in the long run. But it was pretty disruptive. This seems fairly reasonable considering all the options. The one thought I had, and it's probably more on the communication side, and it's probably not for all users, but we may want to put just some kind of a water, way to drink for the folks that are walking up and down the 2 blocks. I mean, it depends on what the weather's like, but it's kind of like when they get there, they may want to drink of water. If they hadn't thought, and I just think something simple that makes it optional, and maybe those of us who are serving as hosts or whatever could, hand them a glass of water if they wanted or something.
We will have water on the platforms, so our
Okay.
volunteers can hand that out.
Okay, that'd be great. Just a thought.
One thing I need to mention too, there's a hotel, it's a resident hotel in the corner there.
Yeah.
We've taken steps to deal with them, to relocate them or provide them an offset for the inconvenience. It is a HUD Section 8 subsidized housing. Most of the people took the offset, so we're cutting checks to compensate them for the inconvenience.
With a pair of earplugs.
So, with-
All night long.
They can buy earbuds, I guess, with the checks
With
we
the
give them.
checks, so if they want to, yeah.
Yeah, only 2 people decided to relocate. We gave them the option to relocate too.
Okay. Ken, did you have any questions?
Yeah, just, you mentioned that there's some material that will be passed out by the train hosts. I ride the Front Runner every day, and I know there's a lot of people that go up to the University of Utah, even though that will be a little less, it won't be zero. Will these train hosts be passing those out in the next week or so that people know? I know a lot of people get off in Murray and take the red line and then go up to the University of Utah, or get off here at Central and take the 2X. And I'm just wondering, is that what you're planning to do to get the word out to people that ride Front Runner? These brochures?
Yeah, so we're getting the brochures out, but we've also reached out to Human Resources up at University of Utah. Our recommendation is to push as many people as we possibly can onto Front Runner to Salt Lake Central and then utilize our bus system. Yeah, exactly. So we've got an email that we sent up to Human Resources. They're going to send it out to all their employees. Likewise, we've done the same thing with other partners. So we've reached out to Lyft and Uber so that they know the construction situations that we're up against. We reached out to Salt Lake City to get information out to all the businesses in the downtown area, along with the Downtown Business Alliance. And then we're also utilizing our own resources through our affairs department to get emails out to our riders and likewise out to employers, partners that we have also. So we've tried to think of every possible avenue of who's going to get impacted from this construction project and try to communicate directly to those companies as much as we possibly can to help alleviate the situations and try to get as many people off of our bottleneck areas as much as possible.
One other question I had is, I know you were soliciting employees to participate as hosts and along the zone. Have you filled your fulfillment of those, or are you still looking, or how's that turning out for you?
The last word I heard is they had them 90% filled,
Oh, good.
and so it's in good shape.
That's great. good. Anything else? All right. Well, good luck. We'll look and certainly want to help in any way we can to help make it successful. So thanks for that report.
Thank you.
So, yeah, one other item, I wanted to highlight one of our employees who completed some really special training. Amy Cornell-Titcomb, our Emergency Management Program Manager, she completed the Emergence Program with the Naval Postgraduate School Center for Homeland Defense and Security. And this was an 8-month at home and on-site training program. 32 individuals were in this course with her, and just really highlights some of the Homeland Security issues and trends, honing their innovative thinking and policy development skills. The topics included traditional Homeland Security matters, along with new components such as an innovation lab, individual action plans and presentations, and group policy exercise. So it was a pretty extensive effort. She's, continues to do a great job providing us with information in this area of our safety and security program, and congratulate her on completing that program. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Steve. That is a great acknowledgement. Thank you. Well, next be up is our financial replan with Robert or Bob Biles.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We'll go through the financial report. The clicker's not here, so if you would go ahead and move to the next slide for me. So here's our dashboard for March. Sales tax, we're doing okay. I did get the sales tax information for this month just yesterday, so I've got some updated statistics when we get to the sales tax on the next slide. Fair to say April was a little bit of a disappointment. The numbers here for next month will be pretty much lower for all of them by 1 or 2%. Instead of 6.5, it'll be 6.4 or 6.3, something of that nature. So just to let you know that the collections we got this month were less than 1% over the same month a year ago. So if you'd go back to the dashboard now, please. So sales tax, we're watching that closely. You can see there at the bottom the 6-month trend. When we looked at this month, it was about 2.9%. Actually, even though the sales tax was a little bit lower, didn't grow very much in this month's collections, that chart, the red line, will actually go up to close to 4%. Because we're looking at the 6 months, and as one drops off and another one comes on. Fair revenue, you'll see that we're positive compared to budget. You might remember last time we had a problem with revenue recognition on the fairs. We got that straightened out last month, and so we think we're on track there. Year to date, we're about 9% over for the first 3 months compared to last year. Operating expense continues to be favorable. Some of that is due to our fuel expense. You look at the UTA diesel there. We've averaged so far $191 versus $250. That's about a $954,000 savings in our budget. So about 25% of that under budget performance due just to diesel savings. Ridership, we're up just a little bit. It's primarily due to the Timpanogos and UVX. You compare the 3 months this year to 3 months last year, in Timpanogos, we're up 90% in just that one business unit.
Bob, if you take them out of it, how does the picture look?
We'd be down about, we're up, 68,000 overall. They represent $525,000 increase. So if you take them out, never do math in public, right? But it's about, 440,000 decrease. And that's primarily Salt Lake Business Unit and light rail. So again, here's the sales tax collection. And I'm sorry, the heading is wrong. This is for the 12 months ended January 31st. Haste makes waste when you're doing these. So please understand that's January 31st. So again, if we put the through February 28th numbers that we just got yesterday, and that right bar instead of 6.1 would be 5.9%. And so you'll see that in your next month's report. As far as expense variance by mode, administration's the one that's most favorable. That's mainly because of a 1.3 million contract services and IT. Those expenses will come as the year goes along, but right now, because of the way we've allocated the budget versus the way the expense actually shows up, that's showing favorable. We also, the other major savings are legal and executive director, about $500,000 combined savings there. Paratransit, most of that, $690,000, is due to operational savings, around $300,000. The negative ones, light rail, or $740,000 negative. That's primarily due to expense that hasn't been transferred to capital yet. There's about $1.3 million. That's what we've budgeted. It just didn't get transferred. It takes a little while for the department to gather that information and get it to the accounting group. And so we seem to be usually behind on that one. We're trying to improve that process to get it in time for the monthly financial statements. Commuter rails, $450,000 to the good, $329,000 of that's due to diesel savings. And then bus, or $750,000 to the good. Almost all of the maintenance departments of the bus units, that's $752,000, and of that, $652,000 is just the diesel. So diesel savings run throughout here, and then also some contractual savings. And if you look at, excuse me, by type, that other, even though it's really close to budget, there's major offsets there. That's where the expense transfer to capital is at. So we're $1.4 million to the negative there, but then we've got another $1.4 million to the positive. Things like purchase transportation, $500,000 favorable right now. Contingency, about $300,000. We budget some contingency dollars, and those expenses typically happen later in the year. So we're favorable there. We're favorable on insurance right now, about $300,000. Again, that's kind of a timing issue of actual expense versus how we allocated the full year budget to the months. Go down to services. We already talked about the IT part of that. That's about $1.2 million. Planning's about $300,000 under budget, and then legal contractual services are about $100,000 under budget. The fuel, we talked about that. $954,000 is diesel, about $134,000 gasoline. And then wages and benefits, we have some savings on wages, but we're over on overtime and leave time, and just a little bit over on fringe benefits. So those balance out. Again, in my mind, some of that's just an allocation between wages and overtime.
Ask a question on the leave time. Is that, and how do you account for it when they earn it? Is it an accrual that you've
Yes.
carrying a liability? But
Correct. Yeah, we accrue it based upon accruals. Leave accruals, that goes into a liability account,
okay.
and then as people use it, it comes out of the liability account.
So how do you go over on leave time? I guess is that tied to FMLA?
Well, I know part of it's parental leave, so we added that in the last year.
Okay.
So that's part of that.
Okay. And is that factored into our accrual? I guess you didn't have any experience.
Yeah, we didn't have any experience
estimate
there.
off of. Okay. All right. That's helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions on the financial report?
Does the transfer of capital from expense to capital, is figuring that out, is it a easy solve? Is it because it just seems like we see that more often than not, and it kind of distorts that. And I realize at the end of the day it gets corrected, and I just,
Sure. So
I
some of
don't
it
know the
has to do
mechanics.
with payroll and when payroll gets posted.
I see.
So there's that timing issue of if the first payroll is the 13th of the month and it goes back in the prior, some of it goes back to the prior month.
Yeah.
Some of it's waiting for that to get gathered, and then the departments are the ones who gather that information and provide it to accounting.
I don't know if, I mean, part of me says take what you have and then just do the difference on the next month so that you don't have these wide distortions, because I don't know that you gain anything by waiting and not having it in. Does that make sense?
Certainly. So, it's from the department perspective, they're trying to get their regular work done and do lots of other things.
Sure,
This is
sure.
a special report for them every month
I see.
that you want to make sure the information's there, that you have it correct, it's been double checked, that sort of thing.
Okay, great. Any questions? Okay. Thanks, Bob. Let's see. Yeah, information only. Okay, thank you. Next item up is our contracts and pre-procurements. And first item up is a revenue contract amendment with the University of Utah EdPass. Monica?
Yes, good morning. Today I'm seeking approval for an amendment to the University of Utah Education Pass contract. As you are aware, UTA has several education contracts with colleges and universities. Each of these schools has unique characteristics that vary from one another. For example, service, coverage, frequency, rider usage, fare, media, and parking circumstances. And these contracts are also based on the individualities of each school and differ in regards to the length of the contract, pricing, and the user base, just to name a few of the differences. So specifically, the U of U contract started in August 2012. It was based on a 10-year contract term. And part of that was it required 100% participation and was based on a fixed cost per pass that increased annually. UTA has a close partnership with the U of U that results in a strong willingness to work together. And over the past several years since this contract was implemented, there have been a number of changes to improve it, and this amendment is an example of that. It eliminates the annual increases for the remaining 3 years of the contract, and it also establishes a contract end date of 2022. So we estimate that the amendment value will reduce the contract by approximately $1.4 million over those 3 years. And that reduction is an estimate because we don't have actual enrollment numbers right now, and that enrollment usually varies from year to year, whether it increases or decreases. Other things to note is that we didn't anticipate several system-wide increases over 10 years. Not all of those increases have gone into effect. We're also looking to maintain equitable pricing, and so by eliminating this annual increase in the original contract, because assumptions were made earlier on, then we're winding up with an equitable pricing and an amendment that is agreed upon by both the U of U and UTA.
First of all, thank you for your work with the university. And, I think about at the time them entering into this long-term agreement was, I think, probably new or relatively new. And the university has and continues to be a great partner. And I don't know how you would, like if I had predicted what my life was 10 years ago, how would you know what to put into anything? And I never would have, I probably would have never pictured being here, or lucky enough to be here, I should say. And so I look at this as just a reality check and an equity check, but they have great service too. I think, especially when you look at the new service coming in August, but even today, with the exception of May 4th to June, it may be a little bit disrupted, but other than that, we're looking at their long-term welfare with this work. So anyway, I don't know, any thoughts or comments or
Yeah,
questions?
a couple of questions. Monica, you mentioned that the amendment value is to reduce it by the $1.4 million, but we're not quite sure what that actual number will turn out to be because we don't have the ridership and it may change a little bit.
Yeah, so just to clarify that, the contract charges the total enrollment, and that is an annual pass price of $110 per authorized user, and they give us the authorized user count every year. So we're anticipating 1.4, but until we get the actual enrollment numbers, we won't know.
And you'll only get those enrollment numbers from year to year, so.
Correct. And so the 110 is what we're going to hold steady. Next year it was supposed to increase by 4%, and I believe that was somewhere around $112. So we're holding for the remainder of the 3 years that cost at $110. So that's why the 1.4 could be higher or lower based on their enrollment.
All right.
Any other questions?
So if I could, I'd
Please,
point out at the beginning of the contract, the total authorized use 44,600. It's currently 52,300. So this is another thing to look at, is the actual number of users has gone up by quite a bit.
And if they authorize the user, they effectively have to pay the $110 one way or the other, correct?
Yeah, so the contract states that we'll take, as of April, their total enrollment count. And the authorized user base is faculty, staff, students. So we ask for a combined number and they give that to us.
Yeah, okay. And they certainly haven't reduced, I mean, there's continued to add facilities up there at an amazing rate, actually.
Yeah, they do.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Bob, maybe you want to talk to how the value of this is shown in your financial plan, what you assumed. We didn't assume the additional 1.4.
That's correct. When we do our long-term financial plan, we have various points where we assume an increase in the fare, the base fare, and then just apply that to all the revenues. And taking into account that when that happens, oftentimes you decrease ridership just a little bit. So we have some formulas where we do that. We don't go in and say, here's all of our contracts, here's, each of these, and we're estimating what's going to happen to those. It's more of a blanket approach.
Okay. Thank you. With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve this contract amendment.
I move that we approve the contract amendment as has been explained, understanding that there will be, the dollar amount may fluctuate from year to year.
Second, any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call.
Trustee Millington?
Aye.
Chair Christensen?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Monica. Next item up is a change order with Tiger Phase 2 Amendment 7. We have Eddie and Mary to let us know what the project is. And
Thank you. This is Tiger Phase 2 Amendment 7 for Tooele County bike lanes. This is part of our Tiger program of projects, which includes 94 separate projects throughout the region. This change order is for construction of bike lanes in Tooele County. Total change order is $360,023. That would bring the total contract amount to $7,088,009. And just to kind of show the area, we have a map of Tooele here that shows the bike lanes. You can see that starts up around 1000 north, it heads down 100 east to Vine Street, goes west on Vine Street and terminates at about 1100 west near the Utah State University Tooele campus. This budget of $360,023 covers construction cost of striping of approximately 3 miles of bike lanes along 100 East and Vine Street in Tooele. There's already been some design work done in phase one for this project. So the total Tooele Bike Lane project budget is $459,787. The total project budget is inclusive of program management, design, pre-construction, construction cost, as well as a certain level of contingency. Total project budget is comprised of $313,285 of Tiger funds and $146,501 of Tooele County Prop 1 funds.
So one question I think you answered my one question. This is in Tooele City itself?
It is.
And then the follow-up question is, does it connect at all to the new service that we're going to have there? I mean, would one link to the other? Would it get them onto a bus into Salt Lake kind of thing? And maybe lanes already exist and this is a missing link. I just was more curious than anything.
Yeah, I will have to get back with you on that. I don't know how well of a connection that provides.
Okay. I
It's along Main Street, so I would assume that it's pretty good, but I want to make sure before I tell you that.
Sure.
Yeah, and the intent of the whole Tiger program was to connect to transit, so I assume it probably.
Well, I assume it's tied to something in their transportation plan, but
Right.
Well, I
Just
think
wanted
the terminus of this there at the Utah State campus is part of where the bus is stopping
Right.
currently.
Mhm.
I thought that this was going a little further than that, but that's all right. But I think there's a bus stop on that route that connects a little further to the north to the bus coming to Salt Lake every day.
Right.
So I think this will provide not only access to the campus, but to the buses that will then bring people into Salt Lake or take them back and stop there so they pick up their bikes.
And I was just going to add to that, in the next few weeks, we want to do a whole presentation on the Tiger program because it's a really good story that we'd like to share with you all.
yeah, that'd be great. Good. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for,
I move that we approve this addition to the Tiger Phase 2 Amendment 7, as has been explained.
second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call.
Trustee Millington,
Aye.
Chair Christensen,
Aye.
it's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie and Mary. And then next, pre-procurement. Steve?
Thank you, Chair. There's one item to discuss today is for a 5-year bond underwriter. So we're beginning the procurement process for that. Bond underwriters are important members of our finance team for bond issuances, whether those are for new money or for bond refinancing. And we typically select up to 3 firms for the underwriting pool and then select the best firm or firms to achieve the favorable bond distribution and pricing for any particular issue. Our current contract expired at the end of December. We don't have any activity right now, so it's the appropriate time to go back out for that. We're anticipating a 5-year contract. And then we've calculated, or we've put a high number in there, assuming up to $800 million in bonds, either refinancing or new issues, but give us enough coverage for whatever could happen in that 5-year period. And the bond underwriting costs are included as part of those bond issuance costs and are paid using the bond proceeds. So you'll anticipate seeing a contract in May for that.
One question I had, well, I have 2 questions, and one is unrelated to this, but related to bonding. The first question would be, when you have your short list, and I don't know whether Steve or Bob, you can answer this, how do you choose amongst, say you have 3 that prevail in this process, and how do you choose between the 3?
So it depends upon the size of issue. So that would be one thing. Do you use just one firm or do you use multiple firms? So for the bigger issues, we'll use multiple firms just to make sure we have the best distribution available to get the lowest cost on the bonds.
Okay.
So if it's a smaller issue and we just need one underwriter, what we'll do is we'll look at who's expressed interest. Underwriters will come in and talk to us on a periodic basis, bring forth ideas, things of that nature. And so we often go with the one who's presented us with the best ideas.
Are their fees pretty similar between them, or
They may have different fee structures. That's part of what we'll look at also.
Okay.
We'll get that tied down as we do these RFPs and know what it costs to issue the bonds. And then you have to make the value judgment. Sometimes the higher fee is what you want to pay because they may have a better distribution channel for what you're trying to do right then.
And I know we're sort of figuring this out, but we have to include the bonding board, right, or the bond. How
The
does that
state
work?
bonding commission. So anytime we do a bond issue, we have to go talk to the state bonding commission, present that plan,
Okay.
and haven't met with them before, so
I know we're
this will be a
getting
new
that set up.
process. I wouldn't anticipate that they would have an issue with this issuing bonds. It would be more of a show us your plan. Have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? And
Yeah.
making sure that their expertise we can gain from whatever expertise that they can add to our process.
Any questions? Okay, great. Anything else on that, Steve? Or?
No, that's it. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. All right, I think that's it, unless I'm missing anything. Our next meeting will be on May 1st. We'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Move.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
We stand adjourned.